Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and honor to address you here today. This is an important time in the life and history of not just Ukraine, but of the world. As I begin, I'd like to thank the organizers of this conference, the government of Ukraine, the International Trade Council, and of course, our host country, Turkey, and the historic and beautiful city of Istanbul. Finally, I'd like to thank everybody here today and those listening in. You are the ones that want to help, who want to make a difference in the world. It may be that when you look back on your careers, this will be the highlight, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to act, not just for our family and for our friends, but for our countries and for our global neighbors. Today, I want to talk to you about building and rebuilding. I will talk about what needs to be done in the after-war period and in preparation for that. Since February, the world has watched as Ukraine has endured relentless attacks on its cities, its infrastructure, and its citizens. The cost goes beyond financial. As some may know, my home country, Canada, is home to 1.4 million people of Ukrainian descent, the second largest Ukrainian diaspora in the world. We have felt the immense impact this war has had on Ukrainians in my country and those loved ones who reside abroad. We must now begin to develop a plan to help rebuild Ukraine in the post-war period. History offers great lessons. In the aftermath of World War II, Europe, faced with a similar circumstance with mass migration, unemployment, critical shortages, and infrastructure devastation. To prevent economic deterioration and stagnation of world trade, the Marshall Plan was born. The Marshall Plan was a United States-sponsored, internationally funded program designed to rebuild the economies of Europe. The joint effort among the United States and European nations working together was a great success. Western Europe benefited and grew with the establishment of new industries. More than $13 billion, over $155 billion in today's dollars, was contributed. This led to a rebuilding of a devastated Europe and was coupled with trade liberalization and economic integration. The Marshall Plan's success led to the consideration of more Marshall Plans in other parts of the world. And friends, that is where we are today. Our presence here shows that there is the vision, determination, and courage to move forward. The elements are there. Let's take these elements and move forward collectively. So I'll talk about infrastructure. Three kinds of infrastructure that need to be established. The first is obvious to us all and provides a great opportunity for businesses and partnerships. And that is physical infrastructure. Roads, railways, ports, airports, stations, bridges, and support infrastructure. On critical infrastructure like railways, which is a key piece of the trade and economic puzzle, Ukraine should look to modernizing this for the future. The existing railway gauge is part of the old Soviet system, and trade within that system is unlikely to be the way of Ukraine's future. The trade routes will no longer be north and east, but west and south. The whole rail system may need to be upgraded, expanded, and protected to cover the increased concentration of goods for export and materials coming in as part of the rebuilding effort. For the near term, this is a reality. As we know, Ukraine has already begun preparing a plan for its renewal called U-24. It will be carried out in 3 stages. Temporary restoration of destroyed infrastructure, followed by a quick recovery after the end of the hostilities, and later a full-fledged renewal of cities' infrastructure and the country as a whole. While reconstruction happens in the emergency response stage, it's vital we plan for rapid restoration of critical infrastructure and services and lay foundations for long-term growth. If Ukrainians are to return, sustainable housing and related services are needed. That is the second element of infrastructure that I will address. In order for repopulation to occur, people have to be able to come back to something. It may or may not be their previous towns or cities. So this effect will even be on towns and cities that were not damaged or destroyed by the war. Further, employment will be the key driver of repopulation. That's where businesses and chambers of commerce will have to step up with coordination efforts. It will take the collective will of all to make this a success. The final piece of critical infrastructure that I'd like to address is as important for rebuilding Ukraine as the others. That is business infrastructure. In order for businesses to start, restart, or enter from outside, there needs to be the supports in place to carry out these operations. Banking services, which include remote payment and deposit services, business risk insurance, loan and grant programs, and systems audit services. Entrepreneurs, companies, and chambers of commerce that represent business must have confidence that the investments they contemplate have a secure financial support infrastructure, one that will protect transactions and smooth the flow of money that will be the critical element of rebuilding the Ukrainian economy. All of these provide an opportunity for businesses and countries to contribute. Coordinating governments and agencies must lead. There is an extensive list of initiatives and entities that contribute to infrastructure development worldwide to be utilized. To name a few, there is the Sustainable Infrastructure Foundation, the Long-Term Infrastructure Investment Association, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and the Black Sea Trade and Development Bank, and the G20's Global Infrastructure Facility. The Kiev School of Economics estimates the cost of the conflict could rise to $600 billion, almost 4 times Ukraine's gross domestic product. It surely will be much more than that as the war drags on. More than 23,000 kilometers of roads have been damaged by shelling, and hundreds, perhaps thousands, of residential buildings have been damaged or destroyed. Schools, hospitals, orphanages, administrative buildings, shops, warehouses, manufacturing facilities, offices, cultural centers, and more will need cleanup and replacement. As devastating as this is, it also provides an opportunity for business to do what business does best: to build, supply, support, provide the required goods and services, fill gaps, innovate, and create. This is your time to shine, to be on the front lines of the industrial and commercial activities and doing what needs to be done. Friends and colleagues, many countries are stepping up. My country, Canada, has committed to step up with an increase in petroleum production. My home region is an important petroleum producing region that has ready access to European markets. The oil is produced offshore and loaded aboard tankers and is North America's closest access to Europe. We also are a big player on the world's food supply: grains, seeds, plant oils, and more. Every country should do what they can, increasing supply of critical food and fuel commodities, extending credit, providing logistical support, defense and intelligence systems, and more. While much has been done, there is much more work ahead, and that's where you come in. The story of this war is not yet written. We are the authors of the final chapter. Everyone here today has the opportunity to do something significant, something bigger than our own communities, something bigger than your companies or organizations, something bigger than what you normally represent. And that is nation building, and that takes courage. For every building that's destroyed, let's build twice as many, and let's build them stronger. For every tree that falls, let's plant an orchard. And for every road that's cracked and broken, let's create new routes and networks. Let us rise to meet the moment and see this devastation as an opportunity to rebuild better. These unprecedented times have planted seeds of fear and doubt of what we can achieve. However, colleagues, we can take from history and be the best of what the global community can offer now and direct the future to a better tomorrow. We can hope that soon the violence will end, and to ensure Ukraine continues to exist as a democratic and free nation, we must embark on an effective recovery. The attention of Ukraine's leadership is now rightly focused on the war, but understanding that the next step includes a plan for the recovery that will leave Ukraine better prepared for when that day arrives. Friends, let's get to work. Thank you.